have our next speaker who's going to be taking us into unraveling the future of advertising media, a glimpse into 2027. And this is going to be a macro view of this topic. To address the theme, I welcome on the stage partner EY. Please put your hands together for Mr. Raghav Anand, who joins us right here. Welcome, good afternoon. He's going to share his insights of what will be of interest to anyone in the advertising ecosystem. Welcome, lovely to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great, folks. I think this is a great time right after tea to be sort of unraveling what's going to happen in the future. So in the next 30 minutes, I think what we'll do is try and take you through a bit of a journey on very quickly how advertising is moving, and then put a spotlight on out of home and talk about what are the new things we are seeing in across the globe from an out of home perspective. So without further ado, we'll just jump in, and at the end of it, hopefully we'll interact and address some questions. So now, obviously, as a consultant, you can't start out without facts. Uh, these are very, very interesting times that we live in as far as advertising is concerned, especially in this country, where there are n number of things happening simultaneously. And on one side, on the top end of the funnel, you will see that overall advertising, which is around, say, a lakh and 20,000 crores, and almost 65% of that becoming digital, you're seeing a complete shift in forces. Obviously, we all talk about the shift in brand spends and so on and so forth. But the interesting thing is, the segment is starting to get more and more dominated by the big tech players. And that is causing a lot of strain. And we saw that, to start out with, we had magazines which came under stress. After that, we saw English print coming under stress, vernacular. Then we started seeing some stress on the news GECs. And now we are seeing a bit of stress on the GEC also. So TV is having its own challenges. But at the same time, you will see, because the middle population, the middle class population is almost going to cross 700 million in the next few years, there is a rise in income spending that is happening, which is propelling a different kind of media. So whether it be in cinema advertising, whether it is out of home, all of those are experiencing a different kind of growth. So there are two waves happening. The traditional media are facing challenges. Digital is growing, but there is a wave of the other set of media starting to experience growth like never before. And at the same time, you will also see emergence of different class of advertisers. You would see the big boys, FMCG, who are spending, them starting to recalculate their budgets, shift to programmatic, increase digital spends, become more data oriented. And at the same time, you have a new age of D2C, programmatic specific spenders who are coming into the market. And they're wondering, I'm doing a lot of programmatic. Should I shift into some brands and establish myself as a different ad group as altogether? But the most interesting ad group here is the 30,000 crore SME ad spends. That is a segment which is almost now like what, 20-30% of the advertising market. There are a host of guys spending. Obviously, a lot of that is going to Google and Facebook, but a lot of that is also spilling over to other mechanisms. So you will see a very shifting trend as far as advertising is concerned. And if you then split this into two halves, on the left-hand side, you will see advertisers who are really saying, can I go beyond the behavioral advertising? Which means, can I do contextual? Can I do psychographic? So I see a video, I see Virat Kohli in the video, and automatically the algorithm will put ads relevant to that. I see somebody with the running shoes, automatically the algorithm will put a lot more of contextual advertising on YouTube. Or psychographic. If you are an archetype which is a go-getter, then I get brands which are all go-getter brands aligned to you. So it's going beyond behavioral, and there is a lot of vernacular in it. But at the same time, there used to be this talk of, are you doing performance or are you doing branding? Now branding is also becoming performance oriented. If I am looking at branding with X crores, I suddenly take some of my influencer messages and put it on certain programmatic and then say how is my brand registering, how much is my brand message going through. So there is a whole lot of attribution coming into the branding space also. And at the same time, if you see the right-hand side of it, you will see new medias emerging. E-commerce is a very good, today, some of the e-commerce platforms in the US are the third largest advertisers, right? So if I can do advertising where people are buying, and that is emerging as a very big inventory from that point of view. And so is a lot of physical mechanisms. So we are quickly going to look into why some of these trends are happening. On the top end of the graph are what the consumers are trying to do, and the bottom half is about how the advertisers are responding. So you see that a lot of the consumers are shifting from just owning a product to owning an experience. And that happens as the country becomes more affluent. People start shifting towards what is the experience I'm deriving from this. And if I need to deliver that, I need to have a completely different kind of MarTech capabilities, which is why 69% of the guys are saying, what is the new MarTech that I'm bringing in? At the same time, some of these campaigns are hyper-personalized. It's not the same. If for this one, it is different, and for this segment, it is different. And if I need to personalize that, obviously, I need to have a lot more of data coming into the ecosystem, and I should have a way of integrating the data with the campaign. And that is the other thing that is happening. Along with this, the consumer is also putting some constraint. He's very value conscious. He's also conscious on how is your advertising sustainable? Is the brand sustainable? There are a lot of constraints which are coming into that entire ecosystem. So, and the brand guys, and this is something on Autohome you will face always, they always talk about what is the ROI I'm getting from this media, this channel. And hence, 56% of the guys are saying that if I don't get the measurement right and can't prove the ROI, then my campaigns are going to be in a mess. And that, with AI creating a lot of premiumization, there are a whole host of new set of advertising mechanisms that are coming in. But what we will do is see the impact of all of that in the out-of-home segment. Out-of-home obviously is growing by almost 11% and will be more than 50 billion INR from an overall industry perspective. But what is happening in the OAH market, there are a host of things that are emerging new. First part is, how do I enhance my audience measurement? No longer is it by reach optimization and reach metrics. It is now everything. Footfall, dwell time, how much time of interaction has the campaigns happened. There are a host of measurements that are coming in, and 44% of the marketers are using digital out-of-home for targeting. So which means that if you don't have measurable metrics in your ecosystem, no longer are the billboards going to be brought by, is it digital or is it in the right place, and so on and so forth. With the data, can it be geo-targeted is the new question. Along with it, can you change the ads real time? And we'll talk about some of the examples of that as we go forward. Can the ads there change based on traffic conditions, based on the weather, based on the kind of crowd that you're seeing? Can you integrate that, and can different brands come in? That is the next set of challenges that have been talked about. And already, there is almost 36% of the market there globally trying to be transacted. These are some global stats from a programmatic perspective. The other is, am I just seeing it, or am I also interacting with it? That is bringing a next set of technological challenges, including touch, sensor-based, visual identification. So much is going into the billboards globally from that point of view. And then the question, like I said, in today's very lit environment, it's about, are you doing that all in a sustainable manner? And is it all energy efficient? Those are the next set of questions that are coming in. And how are you connecting social media with the out of home? How are you connecting digital with out of home? How are you connecting your personal devices with out of home? There is an entire omni-channel convergence that is happening. These are the 4 or 5 things in the next 2 years which are shaping the global out of home. And we'll see some campaigns globally and how that has happened. I won't call this classical out of home, but Careem, the food delivery app in UAE, they wanted to say that we carry more than food, right? We basically deliver other things to you. How did they say that? They could have done TV, they could have done print, they could have done hell number of things. But what they did is they put these transparent boxes on the back of the bike, and they put very odd objects into it, like a teddy bear and a portrait and so on and so forth. And they said, if it fits in the box, we will deliver it to you, right? A very creative way of using advertising on the street. And now it is for all the guys who are delivering to think of what that box can do for a brand, because all of those platforms, whether the quick commerce or food delivery, are emerging as the larger advertising units from that point of view. The other thing that happened globally is, depending on the temperature outside or depending on the traffic outside, the brand will change the messaging or the brand itself will change. McDonald's is a case in point where Manchester, 25 degrees supposed to be high temperatures there. Then they said it's time to freeze. And there are also similar campaigns where, depending on whether it is sunny, whether it is rainy, whether you have traffic, you will have the Google Jam API. It is showing you traffic, and depending on the traffic, can you then change the ads and the brands. And there is a host of things happening globally there, from integrating these live data triggers and changing the campaign from that perspective. Now, the other thing which is simultaneously happening is experience, right? There are brands which want to advertise based on experiential. And unfortunately, digital, I cannot do so much. Of course, with XR coming and all of that, that changes. So in this New World Advertising New Zealand, what they did is they had the bus shelter and it had a cinnamon scent. So when you walk into the bus shelter, you feel the cinnamon scent, and then the campaign is, can you smell that? And then there are also different other categories, like you have ACs inside was it Greece? They have warmed up, they have heat resistant benches, so when the temperature goes up, you go in, sit down, the benches are much more cooled. There are other places where they have involved an entire, like a cruise line, where they have involved a complete XR experience when you get into the shelter and so on and so forth. So you're using out of home to deliver an experience, right? These are very, very innovative campaigns, but to do that, there are 3 things that we need to look to build. First, what is your data fluency? As an out-of-home company, one of the most important questions that we need to ask today is, what is my data fluency? Do I have data with respect to live triggers, temperature XYZ? Do I have data in terms of interactions, dwell time, so on and so forth? Do I have data? Let me give you an example. Imagine there is a bus shelter here, and in a crowded, residential space. Now, there are data partners who have data of each of those buildings. And within those buildings, in each of those flats, what is the kind of consumer durables which are there, how many cars, fridge, TV, what type of TV. You have data for each and every building in India. Now, suppose your out of home is integrated with that data, and you can go back to the advertiser and talk about, this is my shelter, but I am giving you this ecosystem of so many households of this kind of income category, and you can target. Right? That conversation becomes very different. Now, to deliver that, you need, on the front end, what is the use of that data if as a brand, I cannot play with it and target my campaign? So you need technology, not just as a back-end integrator, you need that technology to come front end, where NBC, if you see, have done very smart things. Even on the TV side, Initially, they created a self-serve, didn't work, put in data. Then finally, today, they are giving the complete front end to the advertiser and saying, here is the front end. You choose which program, which inventory, what price, where you want to advertise. So the technology is giving the brand the power or the agency the power to sort of get into it. And then in a world where everybody will say, oh, I'm doing digital, I'm doing influencer marketing and everything, can you connect the influencer marketing, the social media, the digital into your out of home? What's your omni-channel and how is the integration happening? Because the brand doesn't view its asset individually, it views it across. And a very good example of that is transit media. Somebody wakes up in the morning, sees something on the mobile, I track the IFA, he gets into transit, can I hit him there? He gets into a traffic jam, there is a hoarding, can I target the person? Can I target one particular individual across his journey? You can do that only when you're integrated some of these touch points, which is what globally many of the guys are working. So if you're in the out-of-home space, what is my data fluency? Is my technology front end? And am I omni-channel? Are going to be the next 3 mantras for the next couple of years. And to do that, you need a lot of data and alliances. You're not going to go there alone doing that. So gone are the days where all we were concerned about is who's the government entity and what is the RFP and bidding that I'm doing to do. Our concerns are who are the data partners and how can I integrate with them, right? Who are the guys who provide programmatic platforms? How can I get a unified platform into the whole thing? And again, we are working a lot on measurement and ROI because we put the frameworks, measure and deliver back to the brand saying this is the impact of your campaign. At one point in time, we were doing almost 57% of India's advertising spends. So do you have the right measurement frameworks to measure the ROI and show it back to the advertiser? We were doing something in Mexico where the whole thing was to the top 12 advertisers for their campaign on traditional TV. Can I make it programmatic and can I go back and show them what is the ROI that they have achieved, right? And then can you also make your creative dynamic? If I'm in traffic, the creative that comes on is slightly different. If I'm in a comfortable situation sitting in an airport launch, the creative is different. Dynamic creative optimization is another thing that are happening. So as we build these capabilities, we become very differential in the market. And then of those 5,600 crores, the kind of percentage that I leverage and the conversation I have with the brands and agencies completely change. So if we can do that, I think we'll grow the next 3 years, more than 10% CAGR, get to almost 8,000 crores plus, and have a larger share. But we also believe that out of home can be, after digital, the second largest growing segment if we get all of those things right. And add to that about 350 billion INR of SME advertising, which also you can try and get a part of, then we are in a very, very interesting situation. So which is why we say no longer is out of home a linear media. It is layered with data and it is live and it can be targeted by location. That is going to be probably what we are going to see in the next 2-3 years, a layered, live and location aware out of home. So thank you very much. That was like a quick insight into what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years. I'm really happy to be here, and thanks to the wonderful organizers of this. I've not seen a better attended, better organized out-of-home event. So thank you very much, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Joining us on stage right now to ask you the 3 questions that he's chosen. Please join me in welcoming on the stage Mr. Srini from Idea Cafe. You've got the 3 questions. We're going to ask you to do us
Pleasure,
that
please.
big favor from many, many questions. Please. And of course, remember the lucky winner will walk away with 10,000 rupees right here at OAC 2025.
think interesting. I got around more than 35 questions,
Fantastic.
and this shows that how people were attentive in the entire session. Three key things, three quick questions which I wanted to quickly share. One is, what new metrics will define success in 2027 and beyond? Attention, emotion, intent, or something entirely new? So this is a question by Rajiv Das.
Right. So this is a very interesting question. What metric will, right? And I would fundamentally reverse the question. If there will not be one metric that will solve for it, because different brands will have it, but look at metrics as 5 different or maybe more different buckets. There is one which are consumer-centric metrics as to which consumer is walking past that entire billboard. That is, there is a set of metrics there. Then what is he doing with the entire interactivity? That's the next set of metrics: dwell time, interactions, and so on and so forth. Dwell time is another. The third set is how is he interacting? Is he giving an input, pressing a button, doing some that? Those are next set of interactives. Then where are you from a targeting perspective? Geography, time of day, so on and so forth are the next part of it. And then finally, the other triggers: smell, experience, all of that. So if you look at across these 5 different buckets, each of the brand will have different, the trick or the key success factor is, can you tailor your asset to the right brand messaging? If you can do that connect, then you would most probably land the brand than 10 other guys who would have the hoardings in the same environment from that perspective.
Second question is, attribution is a global issue with OH and DOH. How will data and measurement evolve for OH in next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, so there is a lot of integration that is happening on the data from a mobile point of view, from a location-based towers point of view, and also, like I said, Google Jam APIs and so on and so forth, so that the attribution is database to say, rather than taking a guesstimate of how many cars would have passed through this particular thing, there is Jam API data, there is also location-based data, you fuse it in. The problem that we have today in the Indian out-of-home system is that only 12% are digital assets, so the motivation to integrate that kind of technology is very less. But as the assets are growing, these are just data partnerships that you need to bring in. Some of the things we are working in this industry with many of you guys is on data fluency. So if you integrate location-based, traffic data, and a few others in, then that attribution, at least the measurement frameworks become very different.
Interesting. And this one was interesting. How does EY see the industry balancing creativity and data-driven optimization?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. This is the cornerstone because a lot of brands are experiencing this. Can I put a vernacular creative, geography-based tag? Can I change the creative depending on what the data is showing me? Right? Depending on which train is coming, can I change that? If the train is coming from Gujarat, can I change it differently from a train coming from Tamil Nadu for that matter? These are creative optimizations, which I talked about in the previous set, which are done by data, which means I have a host of digital creatives and it picks and chooses which creative comes on based on data, right? A lot of this is, yes, digital driven, but a lot of this can also be different. Depending on the billboard, I change the creative on my mobile, right? So even if you have a so-called static billboard, the interactivity can change. So it depends. Today, you are only limited by your imagination and your integration with data at this point in time, right?
Thank you. So which one,
okay,
first, second, and third?
I would say third one is interesting, right? I mean, it's a tough one to choose, right? I would always say which brand is what, but it's your call.
Sorry?
It's your call. Take your call.
I think the attribution is a more relevant
Attribution
because
is
that's something
no
which
problem.
is
Fantastic. Good.
So, Ritik Raj.
Ritik, if you're there, yes.
Ritik Raj, join us on stage. You've got this big check that's waiting for you. Thank you, gentlemen. Please join us center stage, both of you. And this wonderful, wonderful check that's coming your way. Ritik Raj, everybody put your hands together. Congratulations, Ritik. And we've got a memento that we'd like to give to Mr. Raghav Anand. Uh, Srini, Mr. Srini, can you please do us the honors and hand over this memento to thank our speaker? Everybody put your hands together. Thank you so much. A huge round of applause, so much to take away. Unraveling the future of advertising media, glimpse into 2027, a preview in what the future